Tonight, Corentin LeCam comes up with Le Crunch Time on Johnny Lomax. Benjamin Castey sends the wrong Englishman to the sin bin. And have Brian McDermott's past comments come back to haunt him. Yes, hello and welcome to the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I am Connor Marcells, and tonight we're bringing you your second part of the International Tests Debrief.
Yes.
Awkward silence engaged.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's what you get when you get through to this point into the year and it's the last two matches played.
Yeah, look, it sucks big time, but hey, rugby league has an off season. We should have been talking about World Cup, but we're not, unfortunately. But anyway, we'll still.
It would have been nice. I honestly think it would have been nice if we were able to arrange things where we actually got to talk to coaches and players participating. But look, curveball is a curveball, and we just gotta roll with it, so to speak. I mean, most of us are just going to turn to watch cricket, but that's another story for another day, because right now we've got the final two international test matches to cover, and we're going to start off with the big one on back last week, France versus England, and it turned out into sort of, well, I think many would argue they expected England to win, not by 30-10, but that scoreline didn't look convincing.
No, and I thought England were going to put a lot more points than what they did. And I didn't think France were going to score at all, to be quite honest. Nothing against the French. I know they've had a brilliant season in the Championship and Super League, but 10 points, it's only a 20-point loss, so it's not too bad. But
well, considering where they have been in the last couple of years, I would say it's a dramatic improvement.
Yes, that is true.
But no, put it this way. The French were running out. Again, I don't think they've been able to put out a very good experienced side for years, because they've always had, I mean, think of it this way. They didn't have Theophage and they didn't have Benjamin Garcia, and they would have played a huge role when you have a good half like Fage there, who up until he did his shoulder at Wembley was probably one of the outstanding halves that St. Helens had in their pocket. And then you had Benjamin Garcia, the captain, who could have led at the Catalan Dragons to their first League Leaders Shield, but unfortunately he too got injured before they were able to lift the shield. But he came back and he still led them out into that brilliant grand final or display, albeit on a losing side. So they were still missing a lot of key personnel, the French, but my God, that start, that almost killed them.
Yeah, it certainly did. But that's what you expect of England, though. Like, we know how well England have been over the last many years, you could say, compared to the French. But the French are getting better.
In the last 5 years, think of how many times England could have won against the big, powerful nations that we consider to be Australia, New Zealand, and Tonga. I mean, 4 nations going up against Australia didn't go well. They almost beat New Zealand in a tight one. And then ever since Wayne Bennett took them to the World Cup and then the Baskerville series the following year, he showed what England Rugby League was capable of. Of course, it didn't pan out well with the Great Britain tour, but they're still around, and we'll see what Sean Wayne does here. But the French, the start, I mean, who lets the ball go dead off the kickoff?
French.
Well, no, but yes. I mean, it happened. It honestly.
It's even happened in like Super League, NRL, and all that. It's not just in the international stage. It happens in clubland as well.
I mean, it did. It does happen in clubland, but it shouldn't, because they're all professional players now. But if I had to pinpoint where it went wrong for them early, the defense on the edges.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Mathieu Udjasson got hooked in the first half because he was fouled found out by Tommy Makinson, and I think Liam Farrell as well. He got found out by.
Yeah, look, that's what I agree. That's where the French stuck me big time. But back to your point about being professional, everyone makes mistakes. They are only human as well. But
Oh, of course.
yeah, but professionals do make mistakes. Like I said, no one's perfect. But like I agree, the French, their edge, both edges were torn apart.
I mean,
Big
they just
time.
couldn't. They couldn't handle what was being dished up, and then the way John Bateman. I think he had an outstanding performance as captain myself. Of just this was the way he supported the play back through the middle of the field. So I think it was absolutely outstanding. A good knock for him, considering he was only a first-time captain.
Yeah, no, he did really good. He showed yet again what he's capable of, and I believe he's a good captain. He played like he
in
normally
the
does.
absence of Tompkins, it comes back to the fact that Sam Tompkins was not available for this test match. Had Tompkins been fit to play, he would have taken the captaincy, and Bateman might have still had an outstanding performance. But that's besides the point. They had the throat on the French early, and then it happened. I mean, another problem the French had. Every time it seemed that Tony Gigot touched the ball, the French made a mistake. Yeah. Alternatively, every time Arthur Moore touched it, things happened around it. I mean, so what does he do? He sets up Corentin Lecam for the first try the French score in the second half. And then it's a dummy and run. And off the back, a quick play of the ball to Corella that sends Justin Sangare over as well. And all of a sudden, at about 20 to 10, the scoreline changes dramatically. And I felt like the French dominated the entire second half, but they weren't rewarded for it.
No, I completely agree. Considering the French are down by 20 at half time, to come back, and I don't think they would have won, but they did dramatically.
Oh, they were going to give it. It was a genuine scare. I mean,
certainly
at one point, I was actually rooting for the French.
Yeah.
But there's still a long way for them to go. But I'll tell you what,
they're improving.
If some of the decisions go their way, the scorelines transformed dramatically. I will say that Mark Corella, if Corentin Lecam doesn't and create the obstruction, Corella scores, and suddenly it's 20 to 14, and it's a 6-point ball game.
Yeah. Look, like this, the French are improving big time. They still need a long way to go, though.
I mean, they're still yet to get Trent Robinson in there. So, as director of rugby for the Francois 13 side. So there's still a long way for them to go. But if Toulouse and Catalan continue to perform at a high level next year in Super League, there could be doors opening up for more Frenchmen in the years to come, leading up to the 2025 Rugby League World Cup.
Yep. Now it's good, and like I said, they're on the up, and hopefully come the World Cup, they're up and firing.
And I would hope if Benjamin Casti is going to be refereeing at any international fixture in future, make sure you send the right bloke to the sin bin.
Yeah, that was a bit of a blunder, wasn't it?
I mean, everyone saw it was Liam Farrell that gave away the penalty and should have been sent to the bin. But no, it's just like everyone, even the commentators from the BBC will have dumbfounded thinking, hang on, why is Johnny Lomax off to the bin?
Yeah.
Referee Casti, you've got the wrong bloke. Liam Farrell was the one that should have been sent.
Yeah. Hey, they make mistakes, so yeah.
Well, I mean, it's true, but I think we shouldn't be discouraging people like Benjamin Casti from picking up the whistle, because like players, the French should also have a large portion of officials as well. They should have their own place as well. And I think there'll be more opportunities for the French officials as much as there are players and teams.
Yeah. Yeah, look, like I said with the players and that, referees go in the same boat. They're professional, they make mistakes, and they learn from the mistakes. Even players learn from the mistakes. And look, I don't think he'll be making that mistake again with sending the wrong player off.
But I think for Sean Wayne's second test match to pick up his first win, I think he's got England in the right direction, but he knows he's going to have to put an 80-minute performance together for his country. Because, I mean, if he does that against, well, I would probably think, period, if that happens, period, England are going to lose a lot more test matches than they win.
Yeah, well, you just don't know. But England, they're a strong side. We know what they're capable of. So, but you never know what is going to happen with rugby league.
She's a funny game indeed, and we'll have to wait and see how it pans out in the future. Now, from the south of France, we move to West Yorkshire as Jamaica's Reggae Warriors went up Scotland's Bravehearts in an absolute thriller of a test match.
I'll tell you what, it was a thriller, absolute thriller of a match.
Of course, the Reggae Warriors much improved in the opening salvo than they were against the England Knights, rushing out to a 10-0 lead in the first 20 minutes. Ben Jones-Bishop scoring a second try in as many test matches for Jamaica this year.
Yes. Scotland, they did race out to a 30-10 lead at one point.
Yes, with experienced names like Ben Hellawell and Dale Ferguson and leading the charge from the bench and on the field, with Lachlan Walmsley, the stand-up player from Whitehaven, and slotting goal after goal. Oh, no trouble. You would have thought about half an hour out, the Scots were just going to run over the top of the Jamaicans.
That's what I was expecting. Concerning the performance that Jamaica put in against the England Knights the last time out, I thought, oh, here we go again. But no, the complete opposite happened, and Jamaica came back big time.
We talked about collapses with England and France. For Scotland, this was a lot worse because they have not won a test match for years, as far as I can recall, and they got a coach sacked partway through the World Cup because of it. Yeah. After recording the worst result, I think, in Scotland Rugby League's recent memory, with that 74-6 annihilation against the Kiwis in the World Cup back in 2017.
Yeah, that was not a pretty good performance. And to lose the coach halfway through the World Cup, it must be pretty bad that that's happened. Like, you don't see that happen often, especially during World Cup times. Like, yes, you see it throughout the regular season, but not during the World Cup.
Yeah, exactly. And given that the Scottish side, like I said, you got the experienced halves like Danny Addy and Ryan Briley, a dummy half like Liam Wood, and it's near top-tier championship and Super League players like Alex Walker, James Bell, Ben Hellawell, Dale Ferguson. And you think, given that what Jamaica's trotting out, their biggest names, Michael Lawrence, Ash Golding, and Ben Jones-Bishop, with probably close behind them James Woodburn Hall and Greg Johnson, you'd have to be thinking, are they even a chance? But turns out they proved me wrong, and the Jamaicans, and just give them a sniff, they'll take it on.
Yeah, look, they obviously not adapting, but they're starting to build those combinations. And the more they play, the better off they'll be. And they could be like a dominant force in the years to come. But this is a good start for them.
Well, I think this is a real confidence booster that they did not get their reggae asses handed to them basically at the feet of a Scotsman's kilt. But
yeah,
the opportunity, they missed out at the very end. They draw level at 30-all for Alex Brown, but then Farrell just can't ice that final conversion. That would have taken it to a 32-30 victory.
Yeah, it would have, but the big pressure moment, and he didn't. I'd say that's what would have got to him was the pressure.
Yeah, I would say a pressure. I think considering Jamaica and Scotland are both due to go to the World Cup and they're going up against some very stiff opposition, I think that both of them will need to try and pull something out of the hat. And I mean, there's still a lot of other players as well, all that are yet to get involved as well. I mean, these aren't the final rosters or squads that will be going to the World Cup. There's still time for these sides to get ready, but as it currently stands, it would seem that the schedule has yet to be re-announced at this point in time. For the 15th of October kickoff, that there's going to be a redraw, so to speak.
Yeah, you could say that.
Well, no, there actually is. There's a kind of the 2021 fixtures are all gone, and they're going to redo the entire draw.
Well, there you go. I don't know why they would do it, but they could just carry it on. But you just never know. There might be other reasons behind that. You just don't know.
Other factors, I would definitely agree that there are other factors at play here.
Yeah. But look, hopefully we get an announcement of the revised World Cup draw in the not too distant future, because I am so keen for this World Cup to go ahead. After missing out this year, I'm so keen for it to see who's improved and who has gotten worse, but like
the six again revolution will determine. I mean, the teams that are made up of men, or the teams of boys who think they are men. That's exactly what we are looking at right here.
Yeah, but especially like the six again rule, that's going to change a lot of things. We could see a lot of upsets in the World Cup next year, I should say.
I wouldn't discount anything, no matter what the Australian media is going to say about, oh, it's only between Australia, Tonga, and New Zealand. I wouldn't discount England whatsoever, especially on home soil. And the fact that if it weren't for Sean Johnson's actions in London, England would have faced Australia at Old Trafford that year.
Yeah, surely.
Yeah, back in 2013. It's just one moment. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And I think everyone's going to be interested in seeing how the newbie nations in Greece and Jamaica go.
Yeah, it would be good to see them do well. And we know what Jamaica is starting to do, but I know it's only 2 tests, but it's a start. But they could be building something bigger. They have more tests match throughout next year.
Well, apparently there's going to be a dedicated international window next year. So not only are the combined nations all-stars going to play, but I think they've alluded to the possibility of an England-France test match. So I wouldn't discount entirely that there could be another Jamaica-England Knights test match in there as well. But I think it would heavily depend on how both the Super League board and the clubs themselves want to release players for international duty.
Yeah, exactly. And that comes down to, like you said, or even personal choice as well. If you want to risk getting injured and then hinder your club or not play and then focus on your club.
Yeah, this is sort of what the NRL likes to do, to the detriment of the sport internationally in order to preserve the domestic product.
Yeah. So
divisive, but I mean, look, we're not professional commentators. We're just 2 guys on a laptop that just like to have an opinion, and we just love the game as much as anyone else. So,
yep.
I mean, that's all we are.
Exactly.
But we're honest.
Yeah. Yeah, we're honest. And we share our opinions, and yes, we might not agree with each other's, but
or with what the professionals say.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of things with world in the title, the World Club Challenge. Yes, we might miss out again with the World Club Challenge. Eamon McManus, the St. Helens chairman, talking to the Saint podcast, stating that we don't know if the World Club Challenge is going to go ahead, saying the hard reality is that it's going to be very, very difficult in terms of travel restrictions and quarantine, that it has been disappointing that they haven't been able to test themselves, firstly against the Melbourne Storm, but now potentially they could miss out on testing themselves against the Penrith Panthers. I don't know if he's talking about travel restrictions and quarantine as in terms of Penrith, because I think 2021 is dead and buried. I think we've been talking about this for some time. Or if Saints are going to be forced to travel out like Leeds did 3 years ago, or to play Melbourne in Melbourne.
Yeah, look, it sucks big time. Massively sucks big time. Another one potentially being canned. This can't keep going on forever.
It won't. It won't. I genuinely believe. Well, I mean, I said at the start of the year, I think the World Club Challenge should not be played at the start of the year, as it has been done since its first inception in about 1975, but it should instead be played at the end of the year, after both the grand finals are played. We want to talk about the best sides and the best form. Why not stage it then? Of course, make it before the November 1 deadline so that players can still make their transfers as necessary. I mean, theoretically, we presented the window that it could have gone ahead this year between St. Helens and the Storm, but no one thought that way.
No, they didn't. Besides us.
Yeah, we're probably the only ones, and we've got a pretty small platform. But still, we were thinking this line of rationale at the end of the day. Look, I think the World Club Challenge is necessary, I think, to engage with the other side of the world in terms of rugby league. Of course, the NRL clubs like to complain and say this just hampers the preseason. I mean, just get over yourselves.
Yeah, well, at the end of the year would be better. Then they can.
I mean, it's one trip a year. If you're lucky enough to be lifting the trophy in October to face the best of England's offering. One trip. You're not being asked to go on a kangaroo-style tour where you play a 3-match series of the World Club Challenge. Then you probably face the top 6 Super League sides in midweek matches. You're not being asked much.
No.
Play the World Club Challenge. That's all it is.
Yeah. And I agree. It's one match and one trip for either say in this case, St. Helens coming out to Australia or Penrith Panthers going across England. It's but it sucks.
I think 2023 we will see the World Club Challenge return. I would think they null and void both 2021 and 22 potentially, because I don't think they could declare a winner realistically.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to theorize who would win.
Yeah, it would.
Maybe we could forecast a winner.
Yeah, we could. I mean,
I'm foreshadowing in the off-season as it is.
Yeah, look, if I had to pick a winner out of St. Helens Panthers, I know who I'm going to pick. Easy, right now. Even if it's not playing, I was going to pick St. Helens to win.
You'd go with the Saints.
Yeah, look, they've just got that more experience, like based on St. Helens winning the Super League and the Panthers winning the NRL.
I would have thought
St. Helens. It would have been a close
the dynamics would have been interesting because you would have to factor in all the transfers that have been made. So, I mean, the key battles, you would have Jack Wellesby. If you had to do the paper tests, which is apparently you get both possible 17s on game day, lined up one by one. You give 1 point to the side that who thinks got the better player in that position. And then you get a score out of 14 because apparently the bench is only worth 1 point.
How does that
Theoretically,
work?
basically, you go down the list, 1 to 13, and then the bench, which is worth 1 extra point, and you decide who gets the point for the player in the better position or the better player in a certain position. So, say, for instance, if it's going to be Saints against the Panthers, your potential fullback is going to be Jack Wellesby up against Dylan Edwards. Who do you give the point to?
Yeah, that's true.
In this case, I would actually go with Jack Wellesby over Dylan Edwards. So that's
easy. Yeah.
So that's 1-0 to Saints.
Yeah.
And the idea of the paper test is if whoever has got the better score on the paper test, usually go on to win the game. I mean, it's all bullshit that Triple M came up with, but they actually predicted Penrith to win, and they end up
to win.
Mind blown. But that's chance. It's a game of chance.
All games of rugby league is a game of chance.
And speaking of chance, Brian McDermott, past comments come back to haunt him, but not what you think. Earlier in the week, he was named the successor to James Webster as the head coach of Featherstone Rovers, but the comments he made in the wake of the 2019 £1 million game have come back to haunt him. Quoted from Sirius about rugby league, saying that if in 5 years we're sat around a table with the TV deals and the mega spot, no, sorry, wrong paragraph I'm reading from, but he says basically in 5 years' time at the Super League and Challenge Cup finals, still competed by some small towns from the north of England. While it's a brilliant story, where are we going to sell that to is the interesting point, unquote. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
That is a quote that did not age well. Talk about getting your fans offside when you've now just signed to represent their club, the small town from the north of England.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's an own goal. That is an own goal if ever you would hear an own goal in rugby league this year.
Which would be never, but yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one to answer that.
Well, he's reneged on it. He's had to backtrack just so the flat cap fans wouldn't hate him straight away. But still.
Yeah. I don't think the supporter base will be too happy about him signing on, considering those comments that they made.
Well, he's had the grovel because he's now their coach and he's now representing them. But now, basically, what he's saying is, what his job is, we're going to get to Super League. So I think if Featherstone perform well and they actually win the £1 million game next year, then maybe we might see the early criticism subside, because it would all depend on how well Featherstone start.
Well, yeah, and there's other, like, without Toulouse being there, there's kind of like, I know there's other top teams, but without Toulouse being there, it's kind of like one less to worry about, if you know what I mean.
Honestly, if you look at the best teams from the last 5 years of the championship, you discount Toronto and you discount when they were still in the RFL structures, and Toulouse, you take the two of them out, your next cab's off the rank, Featherstone, Halifax, London, and Bradford. Those are probably the four that are most likely to be in the top 6 and compete for the £1 million game next year. Again, that's Featherstone, Halifax, London, and Bradford.
But aren't London going to be part-timers next year?
Yeah, but that still doesn't stop them from trying to get into Super League and then maybe transition back to full-time when it comes time.
Well, that is true. But
finance-wise, part-time and basically it means they don't have the financial capital to try and operate a 30-man squad full-time. So they're saying, all right, you blokes are going to go and get jobs off in the community, and then you're only going to on a play and train on not a full week.
Yeah, it'll be, what a story it would be though, a part-time side making it into the Super League. Now, what a story that would be.
It would be interesting. I mean,
I don't think
not the first time. Probably not the
Yeah.
first time, but it certainly won't be the last.
Yeah, and I can't even remember the last time that happened, to be quite honest with you.
Now, I think Toulouse and Toronto are both looking full time to try and jump into Super League. But of course, the Wolfpack's finances collapsed, and we don't know where Toulouse are going to end up.
Hopefully in the Super League for a while.
Yes, it would all heavily depend on that. Now, a little bit, something a little bit more closer to home, because I mean, we've just been belting out everything from the north. Something a little taste from the south, and it comes in streamers of black and red. Believe it or not, guess who's decided to re-enter the expansion ring?
Is it a team that's now defunct? Named a fan's name of the Bears?
Maybe someone who's been here since 1908 and got royally screwed by Manly and private interests in the early 2000s.
And there was a big uproar about it.
Well, not as big as the Rabbitohs. I think there's been no bigger uproar than the Rabbitohs.
Well, no.
But you're right. The North Sydney Bears are back at it again. And this time they're declaring, we want to be team number 18 in the NRL.
Well,
So,
yes, that is true.
It's from a little sample from their CEO, Gareth Holmes, who recently launched a new look logo during the week, dropping North Sydney from the name, only the simple NS in the bottom of their new logo. They said their redesign has been part of a big project with the full backing of the North Sydney board. With the new design, I'm paying homage to our strong heritage and also heralds a new epoch in the mighty red and black. It is an exciting time to be the Bear, with the clubs always being vocal in their ultimate desire to return to the NRL. And they believe with the Dolphins' admission as the 17th team, their efforts are firmly focused on paving the way for the Bears as the 18th NRL team.
It'd be good to see the Bears name back in the NRL again.
The question is, where? Because they've, like the Dolphins, they decided geographic ambiguity. They decided, let's drop North Sydney from the name if we want to crack at merging with a Adelaide bid or a Perth bid, or even a Papua New Guinea bid, if they wanted to relocate to Port Moresby and give the people of Papua New Guinea a professional NRL team with the Hunters as a feeder club for them.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be actually not a bad idea, because PNG are coming up through the ranks. But like you said, Perth,
I think we can all agree. I think originally, if the Bears did well in the back end of the 90s, they would have been playing at Gosford today if they could stay afloat and avoid amalgamation.
Yeah,
but
no,
that's not the way it happened. But not actually the worst idea, because now you drop their geographic resemblance like the Dolphins, that even though most people hate it, that the appeal of a national brand, and so to speak, when rugby league was built on tribalism.
Put it this way, I'm still going to be calling them Redcliffe, because that's what I associate.
Or Moreton Bay, if you live in the Moreton Bay area, you'd call them the Moreton Bay Dolphins.
Yeah, but
it's not a bad ring.
No, it's not. But as I've known them as Redcliffe Dolphins, it just comes naturally to you, not just the Dolphins. Redcliffe.
Now here, you could either have the Adelaide Bears if they go to South Australia, the Perth Bears, or maybe a West Coast Bears.
West Coast sounds all right.
Or you could have the Port Moresby Bears.
Oh,
Port Moresby actually doesn't sound too bad, and
it doesn't.
It links back into that Papua New Guinea pathways as well. So it works out if it's Perth West Coast, Adelaide, or Port Moresby, because I think we can all agree they're not going to be based at Gosford. And they did try to buy out the Titans once.
Well, yes, they did, but you can also have them. I know it's across the ditch, but also New Zealand. Maybe a second New Zealand club.
Well, there's no strong identity for New Zealand like Wellington Bears might work out.
Yeah, or the Auckland Bears.
Could work.
But
But I think at the
we're
same
just all
time,
being theorists at the
they
moment.
they will have to face stiff opposition because think of it this way: you'll have the Firehawks and the Jets both wanting a second bite at the cherry in 3 to 4 years' time. The PNG Hunters themselves looking to field an NRL side. The Western Reds also looking for their shot at resurrection and believing that they've got the finances to re-enter the NRL. And a couple of undisclosed New Zealand expansion sides as well.
Yeah, look, it's still like no Firehawks, but now the Dolphins are in. Now the Dolphins are in. I kind of want them to expand into like other regions, like you said, WA or South Australia, or even a second
That
New
belief,
Zealand side.
because I think it would give genuine belief to actually say that we are the National Rugby League if we had a team either in Central or Western Australia.
Yeah.
Genuine belief, like the A-League or the AFL, are our biggest enemies. No, oh, did I say enemies? I meant to say strategic and rivals.
No, you did not say enemies at all, but yes, I know what you mean.
But deaf to all the enemies. Oh, no, didn't say that either.
Yeah,
I'm not psychopathic.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I definitely think we should be either looking to the central corridor of Australia or moving to the West Coast to try and, like the original vision was in 1998, a truly national rugby league.
Yeah.
Where we got teams in the West, we got teams in the center of the country and to the south around the Great Australian Bight. We had a team in Victoria. Yeah, funny little thing. Still here to this day and probably one of the most successful clubs in the NRL's history. NRL exclusively, I should say.
Yes.
And then, of course, we got the 4 Queensland sides and all the traditional Sydney sides, that including 2 brands that have really stood the test of time since 1908.
Yes.
And finally, well, all the speculation is, has Mitchell Pearce actually played his last game for the Newcastle Knights? That question still remains to be asked, considering now his request for release is now public and on the table.
Yeah. Look, I thought it was just going to be like rumours, and I thought, Pearce will stay at sea, his contract to try and win the premiership with the Knights, but I could be quite wrong.
Well, I think now that he's probably seen the carrot of €300,000 a year contract, which is 600,000 Australian on a $1.5 million deal almost.
Yeah,
no, that doesn't work out. But what Catalan are doing is they're trying to make him an offer he can't refuse. And apparently, and I tweeted about this earlier in the year, but I thought Catalan would have been extremely stupid if they tried to sign up Corey Norman. Thankfully, someone in Bernard Guash's organization had the forethought because they were already talking with Mitchell Pearce as a solution to replace the outbound James Maloney. So how would that work? Well, if they sign him, I would think Pearce moves to scrum half, Josh Drinkwater moves to stand off, and unfortunately, Archie Morg probably gets done over again. Unless he decides he wants to try and get into the starting side and then might try as like a centre or maybe even amongst the forwards as a loose forward, but
maybe.
I was spitballing about that. Garcia would still be loose forward and the captain, but I think Archie Morg, unfortunately, would still come off the bench. And if they get Pearce, because they'd be thinking big marquee signing who could probably try and take us to the grand final again and maybe this time win it.
Yeah, hopefully they do that eventually.
And the speculation too about Newcastle, about who could they sign for $600,000.
Well, you did already mention a name.
Ah, yes. Corey Norman is the latest name to be linked to the Newcastle Knights, with the ongoing speculation over Pearce.
Yeah.
What a bloody terrible idea.
Well, they've already signed Adam Clune, also from the Dragons, so could be a potential replacement. I've also heard Scott Drinkwater from the Cowboys.
What? They've been linking Drinkwater to the Cowboys?
No, Scott Drinkwater from the Cowboys to the Knights.
Well, how about that?
Pearce's spot. But you think about it. If Drinkwater comes, who's his half partner? Clifford, also from the Cowboys.
That would be a bit of a bittersweet irony for the Cowboys that their starting halves from 2 years ago ended up at another club and were actually doing a lot better.
Yeah, and that halves combination of Cliff and Drinkwater wasn't too bad. Like, it wasn't the best, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't too bad. But now they're both more experienced in their own rights and that. Now different.
Clifford, I
they
think,
might
flourished
work,
since coming to Newcastle. I'm going to say it. I think he played better at the Knights than he did at the Cowboys, because I felt like he was getting screwed over because he was getting shifted from 5'8" to halfback, then back to 5'8", then back to halfback again. Just like, make up your bloody mind. Do you want Morgan to be the 7 or not?
Yeah, look, since literally game one that Clifford joined, when Clifford played his first game for the Knights, he has been one of their best players.
A standout.
And look how far it took him into the finals.
Well, not that far when you think about it.
No, but it's still, week 2 of the finals.
They didn't make it to week 2.
Sorry, week 1.
They got knocked out by the Eels in the first week in Rockhampton.
Yeah, sorry, it's my bad. But they made it to the finals, and if he can continue to develop his game, especially with Andrew Johns coming in, that's going to be a big boost.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Yeah, it could be a beneficial thing having Andrew Johns back at the club after he left the Eels.
Yes, and we know how well the Eels half combination has gone on with Joey being at Parramatta, so maybe he can do the same up at Newcastle.
But if they lose Pearce, it'll be a tall order to fill.
Oh, I certainly would be. But they'll find someone. You've got suitable young guns coming through. Like you've got your Phoenix Crossland who's coming through. Develop him up. Andrew, with Joey being at Newcastle as well, I help him develop his game more too. Like I said, you got Adam Clune that's joined the club for next season from the Dragons. There's still options available there.
Options available, and I think this is really a topic that we will definitely dive more into in February when it comes time to take a look at how the Knights are going to do in 2022, because unfortunately, this is full time, not just for this week, but this will be the last time we come on this year. We're not going to go away straight up, but we might be going to be going one on podcast a week. It might be a couple of special things, testing the waters about what we might want to take this channel going forward. So if you like this edition of the Sideline Chat podcast, make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for the notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. And honestly, thank you. Thank you for giving up your time this year to listen to these two blokes from Australia talk about rugby league here, there, everywhere. Some bad jokes, some bad intros. I was starting up this channel, but all honesty, thank you for backing us in this first year. And we hope to bring you some better content in 2022. So on behalf of Mark Hendry, I am Connor Marcellus. Thank you for joining us for this first year of the Sideline Chat podcast. And we, barring any other uploads, just one-off things, maybe 1 or 2 weeks away, we will see you on the Sideline Chat podcast next year. Enjoy your off season, fellas.
Enjoy preseason and everything, guys. Just enjoy it. See you all later.